Hi, welcome back to TransMasculine 101. This is the second episode. Today we're going to be doing binding. So, TransMasculine 101, binding 101, essentially. So we're going to go through three different sections, which is going to be what is binding, binding safety, and then my binder recommendations. So, starting off, what is binding? Binding is something a lot of transmasculine folks do with a binder that's essentially like a sports bra, and it binds your chest, so it flattens your chest. I'll show a comparison of like a sports bra versus a binder, how much it flattens your chest. So the goal is people who have dysphoria surrounding having titties, they can get rid of that or at least minimize it by minimizing like how large their chest is, right? So it's basically a compression top. It doesn't stretch in the front, but it stretches in all of the places that it should. So like stretches on the straps, but basically the whole front part is essentially like it doesn't stretch at all. Like it no stretch. It just compresses. It's basically a compression top. So binding flattens your chest, used by transmasculine folks. They come in this, which is like the only kind that I own, where it's like a half top. And then they also come in like a full tank size. And then there are some with like clips on the side. Some of them have zippers, a whole variety. Some people also bind with KT style tape, so athletic tape, sports tape. I'm saying those words specifically because some tapes are not to be used for binding. You can use trans tape and KT tape, and that is it. Don't use like ace bandages, that shit, bad. KT tape and trans tape, those are the ones to use because they stretch with your skin, and so they're not dangerous. For those ones, you apply like strips here and then pull everything to the sides. That works best for people who already have smaller chests. It won't really help out people who already had bigger chests because it won't be able to flatten as much. But if you started out with a smaller chest, then you can use trans tape, and then that'll help without like having straps, which is why some people use them. So yeah, that is my explanation of what binding is, but now let's get into all the binding safety parts because those are the most important bits, I think. To start out, here's why it can be dangerous. It's just because it's a material that doesn't stretch, so your lungs expand and shrink as you breathe, and therefore you're moving, your body is stretching, and when you're wearing a material that doesn't stretch, it compresses that a little bit. So it's dangerous because it can damage your, like, it makes it harder to breathe. It can make it so that your ribs have pressure on them all day. So all of the binding safety parts are no more than 8 to 10 hours a day. You should only do it 5 to 6 days a week. Make sure you have an off day. Let yourself breathe for a bit. You should not exercise in a binder because if you're doing strenuous exercise where you're breathing in a lot, it minimizes how well you can breathe, and therefore it makes it hard to exercise. You can swim in some binders. It depends on the brand, of course, because some of them are not meant to be worn in water. But with some brands that are like that you can swim in, they do allow you to swim in them. You just want to size up so that they aren't minimizing your breathing, but they are still flattening. So yeah, you can swim in binders. Just make sure that you size up, and it depends on the brand, of course. And then you should not wear a binder if it is hurting. It shouldn't be painful. It should feel tight, but not uncomfortable or painful. That's an important distinction to make. That's kind of you being aware of your own limits. Like I said, no more than 8 to 10 hours. Some people might feel pain after 7 hours. You should take it off when you start to feel like you're in pain or when it starts to feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't be uncomfortable in a binder. It should feel essentially like you're wearing an undershirt. It should feel like you're wearing a sports bra. It shouldn't feel tight or uncomfortable. You should not be in pain. This isn't like wearing a corset, okay? You shouldn't be in pain when you're wearing it. That's a very important distinction to make. So yeah, you shouldn't be in pain. Know your limits. If you can only bind for 6 hours a day, only bind for 6 hours a day. Do not push it. Some people can go 8 to 10 hours. Even if you feel like you can go longer than that, no more than 8 to 10 hours. And there's a lot of conversation in the trans community where people talk and joke about like, I bind really unsafely. I've been binding for 12 hours already. Yeah, that's bad. We shouldn't be encouraging people to bind longer or to be binding unsafely. And we shouldn't be talking about ourselves doing something unsafe to encourage other people to do it because it's unsafe. There can be serious damage from binding unsafely. You can have bruised to broken ribs. You could have tissue damage. You could have skin damage. If you're binding with tape especially, you could have skin damage. There are a lot of consequences of binding unsafely, which is why it's so important. And we go over these distinctive rules of how to bind safely. It's because it's so important to bind safely. So please follow all the rules because they're important. They don't really change that much about like binding. Like you're not going to get different results from binding longer. That's not going to change what's happening. Another thing is don't size down your binder. You can size up for exercise, but never get a size smaller because you think it'll work better. It actually won't work better because your body can only, you can only compress it so much. The sizes on size guides websites, so like the binder company, it'll be like, what size are you? And you go and look at their size guide. Yeah, that's the size that will get you the most efficient result. Like, that is what works. Getting a smaller size won't help you any better. It'll just be more unsafe. So please don't size down your binder because you think it'll work better. It won't. It really won't. Don't bind unsafely because it's important to you. Like, your safety is important. Your happiness is important as well, and that's why you probably will get a binder if you want one. But there's got to be some negotiation between your happiness and your safety. Like, you have the binder and you can wear it so that you're happy, but please limit that so that you're also safe, please. Also, I am not a doctor, so these are my general tips based on the knowledge I have gathered from binding for years and from what I've gathered from many internet resources and also the company's safety guidelines as well. So I'm not a doctor. This is advice from your friendly neighborhood dumbass telling you what I do. So follow my rules or don't. I can't really tell you what to do, but I can strongly suggest it. I think that's it for binding safely. If I miss something, I'll put it in here. But the last bit is binder recommendations. So this is going to be the best part. So the binder I keep holding up, this is a GC2B half tank nude color binder. I always get the half tank because preferences, it's always up to you. And I get the racerback version because it feels more comfortable because the back stretches, the front compresses. Yeah, I always get GC2B. I am planning on doing a binder comparison video, and so I will get an Underworks binder just for that. But I always use and recommend GC2B as my favorite company because of my personal preferences. But I would also like to point out this binder is a different one. This one is 2 years old. It's stretched out quite a bit. I use it now when swimming and stuff because it's stretched out a bit. And you know how it's not supposed to stretch? This one stretches some. So in comparison, this is one that's 2 years old, and this is one that's only a year old, probably less than a year old at this point. And, like, they work differently. Very important. They stretch out. GC2B binders stretch out. I also don't hand wash them. You're supposed to hand wash binders. I don't because of laziness. You're generally supposed to hand wash them. I don't because I don't care. And that probably means that mine stretch out and just like fall apart faster. I don't care. If you don't want to get a GC2B binder, my second recommendation would be Underworks because they're also very well known and also well appreciated in the community. And so Underworks binders are my next best bet. And then if you're going to bind with trans tape, which I didn't talk about too much in this video because I'm planning on doing another one about trans tape specifically, I would recommend trans tape, which is from Amazon. So I guess maybe this is Oops. But that's different because it's a trans company who put their stuff on Amazon. That's different. Don't listen to me. Oops. Wow. Yikes. But yeah, I think I covered it. I covered what is binding. I covered I covered what is binding. I covered binding safety, and I covered my binder brand recommendations. All of that. So hooray, we did it. TransMasculine Binding 101. Go us. Thank you for watching. Bye. Also, this shirt is from my Pride collection, which the links are everywhere on all of my socials. It's the trans flag, but in a rainbow. I like my merch. It's good. You should get it if you want to. Bye.